shit show, cause I'm not a sad gee bag, not a sad bag of geese. I won't get on the show. This is my podcast.
Hey, salmon skins, and welcome to another episode of Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. Thank you for joining me. Apologies to any Niall Breslin fans, aka Bressie, aka Rugby Bay, aka spokesperson for mental health issues. And I gotta say, I don't have anything really personally against Bressie. I don't mind him. I just think that, he does quite rightly make a lot of money from talking about mental health issues and depression, which should cheer him up immensely. A little bit of brevity there. He does, it's fair enough being an advocate for mental health issues, but there are some people who speak about it and talk about coping mechanisms and how to deal with these things who aren't profiting from it. Now, I know there are some people like Blind Boy, whose podcast often deals with issues of mental health and mindfulness and things like that. And look, we've come as a society from swallowing our feelings deep down inside into our sad stomachs and letting them kind of bubble and simmer for a number of years in a sort of a depressing stew until it all comes out in weird ways when we want to be dressed up as a priest by a sex worker and have our nappy changed or whatever you're into, however it comes out. But I will say this about Blind Boy. I was listening to him on one of my favourite podcasts, the Adam Buxton podcast, and he was talking about mental health and mindfulness. And when he does it, sure, yeah, he does it on his podcast, but you can listen to his podcast for free. And he's not profiting off of it. Sure, he's noted for it, but he doesn't want to profit off it. Whereas Bressie is profiting off it. And, I don't know how I feel about that. I think, fair enough, you want to talk about mental health issues and your own mental health issues. I know I've certainly done it on this podcast. I've certainly done it in maybe a little bit more detail in the Patreon podcast, because that is my true fans who I think don't mind if I talk about it, because this is a comedy improv podcast where I talk movies and games. I don't talk, I talks. I talks a lot of movies. I talks a lot of game shows. I talks a lot of accents. I have this accent, which is a man who came from Italy, but he's lived in New York for a long time. But he still has that a little bit of an Italian accent stuck in the background there. And it's a maybe bordering on offensive, but I don't mind. I just like the way people talk. I like the cadence of people's accents. And I don't know where the accent is going now. It's going to somewhere a little bit more Mexican, a little bit more slightly sort of, yeah, hello. So what was I talking about? Being racist. So yeah, so I'm a big racist. No, I'm not. Please don't snip that out and take it out of context, because this is what it's all about, is the context. And in the context of someone, I personally, I feel if you're going to be talking about something that's very, very serious and affects people, I don't think you should be profiting off it, because Bressie doesn't seem to make any money from the Blizzards, his rock and roll combo. They're not really around anymore. So what's Bressie going to do? He's got a podcast. He's written children's books, and he is doing all that. But I do know for a fact that he makes money. He takes money for doing public speaking events talking about depression and mindfulness and mental health issues and being aware and kind of look over there, guys, there's a mental health issue. Just keep an eye on it at the corner of your eye. And he does after dinner speaking and before dinner speaking, entree speaking, and maybe during dinner speaking as well. And people are spitting out their burgers and chips and their foie gras, caviar, toast, omelette starters, and little flecks of omelette and bread and crackers. And sesame seeds are flying around the room and hitting rich people in their monocles. And they're going, oh, in surprise. And their monocles are falling into their champagne flutes. And the whole thing is a bloody mess. But look, listen to Bressie. If you gain comfort from it, if you gain insight, if you game, then don't play the game, guys. And don't hate the game. Hate the players. Or hate the game, not the players. Whatever you're into. Look, I honestly don't give a shit. If you want to believe in Jeebus, if you want to believe in Dog up above, if you want to believe in Jehovah, if you want to believe in aliens controlling, alien ghosts making us feel sad, if you want to believe in Joseph Smith and Mormonism, it's all fine as long as you're happy and as long as you're not hurting anyone mentally or physically. I think that's it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Whatever you want to believe, whatever floats your boat, and whatever gets you through the night, as John Lennon and Elton John used to sing. So look, I don't think that. I just don't agree with Bressie's methods. I'm like that guy in The Untouchables, the Canadian Mountie, when they're waiting for the shipment to cross the border, and Sean Connery interrogates a dead man to just make a point, to scare another guy into revealing stuff. And the Mountie's like, I do not approve of your methods, Mr. Ness. And Ness goes, oh yeah? Well, you're not from Chicago. Because he's a little bit bland in that, Kevin Costner, which I actually appreciate, because he did the research and he found out that Elliot Ness, even though, the movies a lot of it's made up, as in those people existed, but the events of the movie are kind of fabricated for dramatic effect. Because guess what, guys? It's fictional. It's a movie. And in the research, Kevin Costner found out that Elliot Ness was a really straight-laced, Dudley Do-Right, by the letter of the law type dude. And he played him that way because he is an actor. And you think in some ways, because, he would have a bit of an ego. He took over the editing process on Waterworld, and, he fell out with Kevin Reynolds, and he took over the editing process apparently on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, because Alan Rickman was stealing too many scenes. That's what he said in his best Alan Rickman impression. Now, he didn't cut him completely out of the movie, but apparently there was more scenes. I think there's plenty enough scenes, loads and plenty enough of scenes with Alan Rickman in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Enough to satisfy my Alan Rickman itch. And if you want to hear me do more Alan Rickman impressions, check out the Cine Stream Club Die Hard episode, out now wherever you get your podcasts. Myself, Trevor Brown, and Jerry McBride talking all things Die Hard. Is it a Christmas movie? I used to think that it wasn't. Have I changed my mind? You'll have to listen to that podcast to find out, guys. Anyway, I don't know why I'm kind of explaining my Bressie stance, but I am, because I've mentioned him in I was improvising, as I always do. I improvised the theme tune Sometimes I have a couple of false starts where I go, here we go now, Egwin sangin of Nowbridge. And I go, wait, that's not what it's called. Take two. Here we go, yeah, going on the radio. No, wait, it's a podcast. Try one more time. Here we go, coming up on Sky One. It's The Simpsons. It's the episode where they get a monorail and Leonard Nimoy's in it. It was written by Conan O'Brien before he got his chat show. Oh. And Conan O'Brien, one of the best ever to host a late night talk show. It's not really a chat show. Chat show is very English, very British. Hello, would you like to come and have a chat? Hello, you're Sylvester Stallone, aren't you? Yeah, how you doing? I've really enjoyed that film where you beat a lot of men. Yeah, I do that in a lot of movies. You sound a bit strange, Mr. Stallone. If you weren't feeling well, you didn't have to come on my chat show for a chat. Yes, it's Lord Lovington's chat show on ITV every Saturday night at 8 o'clock. I chat to the biggest names in Hollywood who are very tired and don't sound themselves. Tonight, Sylvester Stallone, star of Rocky, Rambo, and another movie with R in the title. Also, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. A true story about a mother who shot someone, even though they were warned. So, what was that based on a true story, Mr. Stallone? No, my mom never shot no one. Okay, it's good to know. It's good to know your mother never shot anyone. Well, it's been very good chatting to you. And now, here we go. With Michael Bublé. Well, that was more Michael Parkinson, who did have that old chat show kind of style. Now, the reason I mentioned chat show is because I mentioned Ryan Turbridy. I said Ryan Turbridy was full of shit as well. He's the first one that came into my head. I'm not saying Ryan Turbridy's full of shit. I'm just saying he's massively overpaid for what he does. He gets like $250,000, possibly more, for doing his chat show. It's a chat show. The Late Late Show is a chat show. And it just seems to me that it's just the sad show is what it should be called. You can't seem to get on the Late Late Show if you don't have a bit of tragedy or some kind of sad story. It's like something like the Graham Norton Show, which is I think I've mentioned this before in the podcast. It's like he's just hanging out with people, except there's a massive studio audience there and it's being televised, but he's hanging out with people in his front room, and he creates an atmosphere where no one's really the focus of attention, or they don't feel like they're the focus of attention, because a lot of these celebrities, I won't say celebrities, actors and such, are like, have you ever seen Robert De Niro being interviewed? He's a terrible guest because he's boring. He does the work and that's it. He's not like Al Pacino. You get he's a little bit eccentric, and you do get these eccentric types, but then you just get actors who are just working men, just going to work. Like Cillian Murphy, he's very much doesn't really keep stays out of the spotlight, doesn't court any of that stuff, and just does the work. Same reason I was talking about Paul McCartney in the Get Back documentary, which I still have not seen the end of because I've been very, very busy, guys. What have I been doing? I'll tell you. But yeah, Paul McCartney just appears in that documentary like a man going to work. And there's bits where he's talking about, so, we're going to start at 11:30 tomorrow, and then, 11:30 till 1, and then, we'll take a break. But he's like saying, I think he's saying 11 because he wants everyone to come in at noon or something. He's that kind of thing where, sometimes you have a friend who's consistently late for things, and you always tell them like an hour to an hour and a half beforehand. If you want them there at 10, then you tell them it's on at 8:30, and then they might arrive at like 9:30, 9:45 or something like that. Be like, oh, so sorry, I'm 5 minutes away. Ever since modern mobile phones came out, everyone's just 5 minutes away. But are they really? Sometimes they are. I call people's bluff now when they say, "Oh, I'm 5 minutes away," or "I'm 10 minutes away," and I go, "Are you? Drop a pin. Drop a pin. Show me your live location, and show it to me for 15 minutes, because you have 15 minutes or an hour. And if you're 5 minutes away, then you'll only need to show it for 15 minutes." And I'm like, "What? It says you're in Azerbaijan. Come on, we're drinking in Whelan's in town, in Dublin, which is in Ireland, which is a different country than Azerbaijan." That has never happened. So yeah, I've never been. I mean, I've had cancer, but it wasn't that sad because I didn't really, I didn't die from it, and I didn't have any sort of major, lasting, permanent damage. There's maybe a bit of trauma there, but look, I talk about this in the book that I'm writing that will never be finished. I'm hoping to get a first draft done before Christmas Day, but that's not going to happen. I'm sorry, Cara. Cara wanted a first draft. I'll have the first 100 pages, which is probably about half the book. I'm trying to add to it, but I'm a busy man. What am I up to? I'll tell you soon. Hang in there, guys. I want to talk about Ryan Turbridy. Ryan Turbridy, I have bumped into him a few times when I used to be on television, and I was on Republic of Telly for a spell, and I was the resident warlock, casting spells and exorcising demons from the offices and some of the prefabs around RT. Oh, there's Ryan buzzing me on my phone. No, I'm only joking. We don't have numbers. But I was down changing clothes in the costume department, which is vast. And while I was working for Republic of Telly as a freelancer, this is the thing as well, I'm not like an RTE insider because I haven't got any work from RTE directly since Republic of Telly, whenever that was, 5 years ago? Who knows? I don't even know what year it is. So I was down trying on a suit or trying on a Nazi uniform, of which there are plenty. No, I'm joking. I was trying on something for a sketch, and Ryan was there and he was trying on something as well. And it was a Friday afternoon, and he was trying on suits or something for the Late Late that was going out live that evening. And Brian Dobson was there, and I saw him in a suit jacket, but he had no pants on. He had underwear on, but like he was trying on clothes, and he was just pantless with a jacket on. He's a boxers guy. I know that's everyone's screaming now. What was he wearing? Briefs or boxers or Y fronts, like my granddad? And that was obviously, he was changing clothes, trying on suits, but that's how he appears on the news. We just can't see that he's not wearing pants. It's kind of the way everyone appears on Zoom calls. So I said to Ryan, just making conversation, I said, "Mr. Turbridy," and he corrected me on the pronunciation of his name, and he said, "Call me Ryan." I said, "I'm not going to call you that." And there was an awkward silence. And I said, "I'm only fucking with you, Ryan. So, listen, Ryan." And he said, "No, it's Ryan." And this went on for too long. Longer than this retelling, to be perfectly honest. And I said to him, "Who have you got on the show tonight, Ryan? Some sado talking about sadness, or someone who's been through a hell of a time?" I've been through a hell of a time. Have me on the show. No, I didn't say that. I just asked him who was on, and he said Richard Gere, actor, and somewhat. I used to describe Richard Gere as someone who looks like if a sheepdog had a wish to turn human, and then it did. That's what Richard Gere would look like a shaved sheepdog, or a sheepdog that became a real boy and then grew up to become Richard Gere. And I said to him, oh, Richard Gere, yeah? And he said, I'm actually meeting him for a pre-interview interview. So I think they were going for lunch somewhere, probably in the Shelburne, probably hanging out with all those people eating caviar toast and dropping their monocles into their champagne flutes. And I said, all right. And I said, ask him about being a Buddhist and hanging out with the Beastie Boys. Because he is a Buddhist, and he was hanging out with the Beastie Boys, the Beastie Boy who passed away very young from cancer. Not Mike D. Adam. Yach. I'm not too sure, but I'm not going to look it up. But one of the Beastie Boys who passed away, because he was involved in the Free Tibet movement, as was Richard Gere. So, that's an interesting, being a Buddhist, hanging out with the Beastie Boy, that kind of thing. And Ryan was like, oh, is he? And I just went, I think you should know that, Ryan. Get some better researchers. You're going to be interviewing him tonight. I guess this is why you're having a pre-interview. And I walked out cool as a cucumber. And then I walked out of the main doors of RT, and there was a limo car with blacked out windows. And I walked past it and thought, Richard Gere is sitting in that car. And I should have looked in the mirror and went, Summersby, I liked it. Just picking one of these sort of mid-tier movies. But yeah, so that's a very, very long-winded, side-winding explanation as to why Bressie and Ryan Turbridy both appeared in the opening lyrics to this podcast.
There's too many beats in this beatbox. I got too many beats in my beat bag. I'm going to have to empty out. You got to have less than 20 items in this beat bag. Too many beats. Go to the back of the queue. I can't dance with you. There's too many beats in the beat bag. Too many beats in this beat. Oh, I can't move my feet. I can't move them fast enough. I'm just a human man. Too many beats. It will do me harm to dance, to try and dance with so many beats. I cannot do it.
And you're very welcome back, guys. That was Too Many Beats by MC. Can't handle it. Can't take it anymore. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I can't take it anymore. Fresh from the pages of Twitter comes the new album inspired by social media bullshit. I'll just leave this here. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag buzzing phone on my elbow. Hashtag I don't know where to go. When I go, it better have snowed, 'cause I want to get my skateboard out. I take the wheels off, it's a snowboard. I put the wheels back on when I'm on the road. I wish I could come up with rhymes like this when there's a beat behind it, instead of terrible rhymes that I come up all the time with. And I kinda rhymed with, and with. That's 3 in a row, and things happen in threes. Like monkeys swinging with disease. Get away from them, please. Give me pepperoni and cheese. Pepperoni and cheese. That's what I needs. That is the bee's knees. I don't know what I'm saying. Is my brain melting? That's what I'm saying. Anyway, as I said at the top of the show, I'm going to now let you know what I've been doing and how it's been going. And I'm going to try and stop rhyming all the timing, because it isn't that sublime-ing. And, okay, I'll stop now. So, guys, I have been very, very busy lately. I'm sorry that these podcasts are coming out late or exactly on time, because for the last couple of weeks they've been coming out on Saturdays. And I will, over the weekend, be recording an extra podcast where I'll be going into slightly more detail about what I've been up to in the last while. But I'll tell you briefly, because I can tell you without disclosing exactly who, what, or where. But I have been doing some jobs, of course, because the COVID-19 refuses to go away. The COVID-19. I can't believe it's been fucking 2 years since COVID-19. I'm getting nostalgic for a time when you weren't second guessing everything that was happening. And look, things have gone to shit in some ways. I've had a lot of Christmas gigs cancelled because, you know, there's 50% capacity on some of them, on all of them, in fact. Now, some gigs have been going ahead. There are some tickets left for Dreamgun Film Reads on this coming Monday the 13th. There is an early show and an evening show. So the evening show begins at 9 o'clock, and I think there's maybe 5 tickets left for that. It could be sold out as I speak, but just in case, and you want to go see Home Alone by Dreamgun, which will feature me as one of the Dreamgun players. It's the full ensemble, which is the first time that the full ensemble has been available and on stage since 2019, since before then. In fact, the last full, mostly full ensemble was E.T., the extraterrestrial, which I eventually got to perform. I didn't listen to the podcast episode because I wasn't on that episode. I missed the gig in Whelan's. That's where the Home Alone gig is on, in Whelan's. It was going to be one show, but then the 50% capacity rule that came in from the kicking the can down the road government that we have, the bloody government guys, with their absolute, we'll just make it, we won't shut everything down, but we'll just make it incredibly difficult to make a living, and we'll discourage people from maybe going out and buying tickets for your show. And look, people in general might be discouraged from going out because of the Omicron Persei 8 variant. It just keeps mutating, guys. That's happening. I don't know how serious that is. I guess it's pretty serious, but it's weird how no one is really taking it that seriously. I know some people are. Maybe I'm being flippant, but I know I'm not. I think everyone's just got COVID fatigue at this stage. But this new thing of, 50% capacity, we have to be shown some kind of restrictions. And I know that that's put people off because they don't want to go to a half full gig. And because, there's restrictions, so I guess there's danger there. And there is. And if you don't want to go to a gig because you're afraid of getting a potentially fatal or even potentially damaging, if not fatal, virus, then by all means exercise your right to stay at home. If you haven't got the vaccine, then I don't know what's wrong with you. I mean, you're exercising your right as well, and I don't want to be one of these people, and I hate this kind of rhetoric where people are talking about being on the right side of history or the wrong side of history. I think all you can do is look at the facts and look at what's happening and look at and think about society as a whole and not your individual rights being violated or blah or whatever you think is happening, and make an informed decision that is empathetic and is intelligent. And don't say you've done your research, because whatever research you've done, you have not done as much research as the experts who, do fucking research. So, you're gonna, I hate the whole right side of history, wrong side of history, blah, blah, blah. I think that kind of excuses you from living in the present, and in the present you should be making a decision based on intelligent scientific research and achievements. And it is quite the achievement that we have this vaccine. So take the fucking vaccine. I've had it. I haven't exploded. And, you won't explode. And you'll find yourself looking back on this and being a dummy. So don't be a dummy. And look, if you've turned off now because I'm talking about getting a vaccine, then good luck to you. And go listen to Joe Rogan or whatever. I've never listened to Joe Rogan podcast. It's a kind of a cliche, really, isn't it, the Joe Rogan podcast? I do know some people who've listened to it and say that he never makes a joke. And he's a stand-up comedian. For me, he was always the host of that show where, was it Fear Factor? Which was kind of like a more exciting version of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And that it did have the thing of, we're going to put a perspex box on your head, and we're going to put Ruth Bader Ginsburg into the perspex box, and she's very hungry because we haven't fed her. It was either Ruth Bader Ginsburg or it was Hungry Rats. I can't remember, but anyway, listen. That's my woes over. My woes don't account to a hill of beans. But because of this pandemic, and because this pandemic has been going on, and I've been having a couple of breakdowns, I've nearly been quitting being a comedian, and then coming back and doing comedy again. I felt so much better. It really gave me a nice boost, and I do love the job, but it's so inconsistent. I've had to do other stuff. So I did an online course in special needs assisting in schools, and I got some work experience in a school, and that's where I've been all week. And I've been in a school that I can't name. I can't name the school. I can't talk about the students. I can say things that they said to me, but no names, no addresses, confidentiality. So child X said to me, it's funny because I'm just getting experience in the school. I'm basically a teacher's assistant, which means I'm doing sort of busy work and helping with their painting and answering their constant questions. And they're funny. They're very funny. I was helping them do their readings, and these are under 10 years of age. And this one child was saying, telling me this story about reading a story about a dog, and then I was saying, "Do you have a dog?" And the kid was saying, "Yeah, I've a dog, and my uncle has a cat, and I don't really like cats, but the cat that he has is a black cat. And one time I was going in, and the lights were out, and I nearly stood on the cat, but I couldn't see the cat in the dark because it is a black cat, and when the lights go out, you cannot see a black cat. So I think it's dumb of my uncle to have a black cat." And I just went, yeah, I guess it is dumb of your uncle to have a black cat. But let's get back to the story. So I've been doing that this week, and I've also been doing some Zoom Santa stuff, and that's been a lot of fun. I did it last year as well, and I'm doing it all this weekend, and so I'm kind of flat out. So I apologize if I've been lacking a bit in content, but unfortunately, that's just how it goes. As my son screams in the next room and my phone buzzes underneath my elbow. Oh, this is life, guys. Life, oh life, oh life.
I'm afraid of a ghost. It's the sight that I fear most. I'd rather have a piece of toast and watch the evening news. That's every lyric from that song. Oh yeah, that's a lyric from that song. That song. That song. Boo-doo-boo-boo-boo.
It's true, guys. That is a lyric from that song as my son gurgles in the next room. We're trying to sleep train him, and it's not going great. He likes to sleep, but his preferred position is on top of either myself or Cara. But Luke is very cute, and that makes up for a lot of the getting up super early while it's still dark, feeding him mush, cleaning off the mush, changing his clothes. He has more costume changes than Cher at this stage, because when we feed him his mush in the morning, it kind of makes it sound like we have like a pet pot-bellied pig or something, like we're George Clooney in the mid-90s when he had famously had a pot-bellied pig, and then he moved on to getting married and having children instead of keeping a pot-bellied pig. But no, we feed him a really nice combination that I never thought would taste nice at all. But it's shredded carrot. I never said cabbage. It's shredded carrot with porridge and milk and cinnamon. And it's something that I've been eating myself instead of my usual breakfast of coffee and nothing, or coffee and pastries, which coffee and nothing is maybe better than coffee and pastries. But sure, listen, this is it. Anyway, guys, this is going to be the end of this episode because I have to do some Zoom Santa stuff. But I will be back very soon with an extra episode that is going to go out to the patrons early. So it'll be in the next couple of days. If you wish to become a patron of Edwin Salmon of Knowledge, you may. It's your choice. It'll only cost you a $5 or whatever you want to give me. But you can give me a $5 at least. And if you want to give me more, then you can give me more, give me more, give me more. I want more. And I'm Britney Spears and I am free now. And my father doesn't tell me what to do. Give me more. Give me more. Give me. Oota, 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 oota. I want some more, let me tell you. And I should rap a little bit. I should have a beat behind this. Give me more. I want more. Give me all the stuff you have. Oh no, that's too much. Take it back. I thought I wanted more, but in fact I wanted less. I should not get more. Sometimes you don't want what you ask for. You think you want it, but when you get it, when it's sitting in your lap, you say, no, that's no good. That's terrible load of crap. Did you want it now? Do you want to wrap it up and eat it at home? No, it's got foam, and it won't leave me alone. The foam will bubble out, and that's a bad shout. I don't wrap it up. I thought you were a Michelin star. Well, this restaurant will go far. If you act like that for clientele, I don't want to eat it at home. I'll go to hell rather than eat it at home. That's an extreme view, but that's what I'll do to you. Mr. Magoo, he can't see. And that's offensive to blind people. And Leslie Nielsen died for your sins. So, what does that mean? It's obscene. I don't know. I just know that he had a fart machine. And he brought it wherever he went. And people didn't get annoyed because he was so charming. A Canadian man. He was very funny when he was alive. Rest in peace. He didn't mean any harm, Leslie Nielsen. So, guys, with that last improv rap, that is the end of this episode of Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. Thank you so much for listening. I'd like to thank Ryan Ritchie, my newest patron. Thank you, Ryan. Welcome. Thank you for becoming a salmon skin. Thank you for your kind messages on Twitter. I appreciate it very much. If you want to become a salmon skin and become a patron of this podcast for less than the price of a pint or for the price of an expensive pint, wherever you get your pints and however you want to support this podcast. You've supported it just by listening this far. Thank you for listening. If you could recommend it to a friend or an enemy or a stranger, that would be wonderful. If you can give me a review, that would be wonderful too. Apple Podcast reviews help get this in the ears of people who will enjoy it. Guys, take care of each other and yourselves and strangers, and I will be in your ears again very, very soon. Goodbye.